shell is the one I'm really excited about for this area. It's
Oh, me
Anna and
too.
the Dorset. You always see Anna and Dorset, and then every once in a while Einsheimer, and everybody says Einsheimer. Oh, that's terrible, bland apple.
Right.
Anna has a good reputation as a
Yeah.
good apple,
Yeah.
but let's see. Anna came from Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Ein Shamir did too.
Einsheimer came from Israel, and then you were telling me the other day that Golden Dorset came from the Bahamas.
Today we're out here in front of the Shell of Alabama apple tree, and we're going to be diving into the world of the Shell of Alabama apple. This is my Smith of Mississippi, the one that blew down, and it came back to a rootstock this size, and then I just grafted right back to it.
So this variety, where in Mississippi did it come from?
Southern part of Mississippi. I don't remember the exact town that it came out of.
Because I mean we're
It's a
so close to the Gulf here. This is not
and it
apple
bloomed.
country.
It blooms step by step with the shell, and grows just
Oh,
as
that's so
good.
good.
Yeah,
What's the apple like?
it's green. It's a green apple. It's a little more tart than what the shell is. It's not as robust.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm getting like since you gave me those shell apples, I planted a little hedge of them.
When
I
you
don't know. I'm
start
getting more
looking in,
obsessed with them.
when you start looking into them, they get really interesting, don't they? Let's see, you got some little apples
Oh,
coming
there's
on.
so much genetic variation.
Oh, that one's not
There's a
gonna make it. That one's
little
gonna make
bitty
it.
apples.
Well, maybe I won't get apples from this year, but at least I got
There's
cross
some on the top
pollination.
right there. Oh, here's one.
Yeah.
That one looks
Okay.
like it took.
Yeah, that one took for sure. Here's a cluster here.
There we go. So these would be cross-pollinated with shell.
And if they have seeds, then you know they've cross pollinated.
You have two varieties that are adapted to the area. That's some genetic gold, maybe.
Yeah. Well, last year I didn't. This one didn't bloom, so this one didn't have a pollinator, but it set fruit. So that's how I know that it's self fruitful, but it didn't have any seeds in the middle. I got a special guest with me here today, David the Good from the David the Good
From the
YouTube
David the Good Show.
and author. So check out his books, check out his website, and check out his school account also. All right. So the Shell of Alabama apple tree has a very interesting history. It grows so well here in my yard because it was developed right here in Escambia County of Alabama. In the city of Bruton is a little sub-community called Appleton. And a lot of people in this area do not know how Appleton got its name. Well, it got its name from the shell.
Wow.
And the history goes back to Mr. Green Shell from Georgia after the Civil War migrated and settled into this community, and he bred this apple. Well, he had planted orchards of 1,000 trees in the community of Appleton, and he was taking these apples to market into Bruton, Alabama, meeting the train there on a horse-drawn apple cart, and he was shipping apples out of South Alabama.
Wow.
And so Mr. Shell would hitch up his cart and to his horse, and he was taking apples into Bruton and putting them on a train and shipping carloads of apples up to upstate New York and beating their market by months.
Oh, yes. Because we would have much faster bloom down here.
Oh yeah, this thing, as soon as the we get the hard freeze over with in January and the dead of winter has passed, about towards the middle or end of January, it'll start blooming.
Wow.
Well, being that apples are a little bit on the cold hardy side, it can withstand the temperatures as long as we don't get into sub freezing temperatures. It usually loads up and does really well.
So when do they come out? When are they going to be ready?
Well, typically apples are always thought to be fall crop. This one matures its fruit in about June, late June, early July. It'll mature its crop, and you'll get these nice, large, delicious apples. And then we start going into the dead of summer where we hit the drought and the tree wants to go dormant. Whenever we start getting our late summer rains coming back around, it thinks it went through a dormancy period, and it'll bloom, and I get another crop of apples. About November, it'll start maturing its fruit again. Now, typically, the apples from the second crop aren't as big. They're a much smaller apple, but they're good apples, and they're not cross pollinated, so I don't have to deal with seeds. But it's a nice little summer treat to be able to get two crops of apples out of one tree.
So how did you manage to find this tree to begin with?
I read the story about the shell apple. I don't remember how I come across the story, but once I discovered what the history was behind it, it really intrigued me. I'm like, I've got to have this apple. And I looked high and low for this, and there is a nursery up in Auburn, Alabama that was selling this tree. So I drove almost 4 hours up there just to buy this tree.
So your chill hours here,
We get about 500 chill hours a year, and I'm not sure that it even requires that amount. This might be a 100 to 200 chill hour tree because people are getting fruit off of this much further south than we are here. Mr. Green Shell still has relatives just south of us, about 45 minutes to the south, which is a whole different growing zone down there. And so they have this tree down there
they have the
also.
tree still. Are there any of his other trees surviving? Any other varieties?
No known varieties, no other trees are surviving on the original plot of land where he had his orchards. Matter of fact, if you drive through there today, you'd never know that that was once orchards because it's all planted in pines.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
So do you think that he just started a seedling orchard and then just waited to see what happened?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many seeds it took to develop or what the cross was. I'd really love to know the history of the breeding of the shell apple. Maybe we could duplicate it and get other varieties to complement along with it. I'd love to know the history. So if anybody that's watching this knows a little bit more than I do, I'd love to know.
So disease resistance,
I've never had to spray it. I never have a problem with bugs. I never have a problem with scab or anything. If you look right now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this apple. I've got no blemishes, no bugs. Nothing bothers it. And I've never seen of that or heard of that with an apple.
no,
Because when you think apple orchards of today, they're on a spray regimen.
constantly,
Yep.
constantly. So this could be organically grown in the South, which is that's a gift.
Yeah. So
So now the Anna apple is generally the one that people they plant that all through Florida. I actually planted one in Fort Lauderdale, and it grew and made one apple for us. It never went dormant again, and it just sat there and it never bloomed again. And I didn't know back then that you could just strip all the leaves off and force it into dormancy and get it to bloom again. But it lived for
mm-hmm.
years down there in South Florida. But that's pretty much it. That's like the one good one, and then the Dorset is kind of okay.
And I've heard people talk about the Anna, but they say that it'll form a nice big large fruit, and about the time that the fruit starts to mature, it'll get a spot on it, and it will start souring its fruit right as it's time for it to come off. So Anna makes a good apple if you can get a good edible apple off of it. You've got to be really diligent and stay on top. You maybe even have to look at doing a spray
So
regimen
it's
to
just
control it.
not as bomb proof as
It's
shell.
not for here, not in South Alabama. The shell apple, I couldn't say enough good things about it.
And how old is this tree?
This tree is probably 5, 6 years old. And look
When
at those
did it
apples right there.
start fruiting for you?
The very next year that I planted this tree, we got apples off of it.
And I mean, what rootstock is this on? It's obviously it's pretty big. It's not a super dwarf.
This happens to be on M111 rootstock. When I went to buy it from the nursery who sold me this tree bred this tree, and they were able to tell me what rootstock it was on.
Wow. And it's been through hurricanes.
It's been through hurricanes, which is, I'm very grateful that Sally didn't blow over this tree. It blew over the one I had on Smith, Mississippi. It blew over, and I was able to save that tree. And now I have a cross pollinator. Smith, Mississippi, thank goodness, blooms at the same time this one blooms. It's a little bit more of a tart apple, whereas you have a more complex flavor with the shell. And I much prefer the flavor of the shell over the Smith, but the Smith is a good complementary if you want a cross pollination.
So for southern fruit production, you just really don't think about apples as being what you do. So it's kind of surprising to see one, in 8B, our humidity and everything. And I mean, I tried different varieties of pears and apples and had the leaves all turn black on it, fall off, and rot creep down into it, or things like the bark starts cracking and rotting.
Yeah, it really doesn't want to be there.
It just is like, I'm not happy. And I've seen, I remember going to one guy's yard and he had planted a Granny Smith and that had been there for 6 years and it was still only this tall.
Right.
It's not the sort of thing that you can just throw in your yard and not care for that much.
Let's go over here and look. I've got a couple of apples that were planted the exact same time that this one was planted. Now, to continue what you were saying, David, I planted this Gala apple and this Fuji apple right behind you at the exact same time. And you talking about it
Wow.
not being happy.
It's so small.
And look at all this that's growing on the bark. I don't have this on my other tree.
No, it's just left it alone, hasn't it?
It has. It really that tree is really happy here, whereas this tree that was not developed here is not happy here.
So that really is kind of a pretty good a pretty good example. So 6 years of growth, and it's there. Has it made fruit for you?
I have gotten fruit off of it, but it's not good fruit as far as size. This one, shell, makes a nice big large apple, and the Fuji and the Gala for me makes a smaller apple, like the struggle. It's on the struggle bus.
It's on the struggle bus. So if let's say if this shell, this is not even blooming at the same time as this.
No, it's not even leafed out, right? And when it does come out and it blooms, it'll set its fruit, and it'll be a fall crop for us if we get 1 or 2 apples. We luckily might get 1 or 2 apples off this entire tree, whereas I can pick a 5-10 gallons off of that tree, no problem.
Wow, I gotta come over in apple season and actually see them.
Sure.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a taste video.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video of diving into the world of the shell apple. Hopefully it was informative for you, and just, I can't say enough good things about this fruit. Once you taste it, once you see it, and you grow it, and you're in this area, I don't know why this tree isn't in everybody's backyard in this area.
That's
It's
awesome.
such a wonderful, wonderful tree. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, David, for coming out and touring around with me. Remember, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. And together,
We're
we're
Flomaton
Flomaton famous. We'll see you next time.